Hello and welcome to talkBULL, your weekly Premier League darts podcast, which will be coming to you every single Friday until the end of May. My name is Harry Durham, and with me, two-time major winner, former world number one, Colin Lloyd. Lloydie, how are we, sir?
I'm very good, Harry. Thank you very much. It's a very dull morning here in Colchester, Essex. But hey, the day's going to brighten up because we're doing this.
Listen, Belfast yesterday was beautiful. I took a nice little stroll by the Titanic Court. I don't know, you've probably been to Belfast a couple of times with tours, exhibitions and whatnot. Well, I hadn't been there for 20 years. That's where a lot of my family originated from, my mum's side. What a lovely part of the world.
Oh, it's absolutely stunning. I was there end of August, start of September last year. I actually went to the Titanic Museum. That was the whole point of the trip because I'd never been there. And so if anyone's ever stuck for a little trip, I mean, got the flights nice and cheap, got a hotel cheap, and it's great. And it is just an amazing city. Even Harry managed to hop on one of the hop-on, hop-off buses and had a nice little tour of the city. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was a great few days away. Lovely place.
Coming up, we'll dig into all of the results from last night's Premier League night opener in Belfast as world number one, Luke Humphries soared to victory. A ruthless display in the final against Chris Dobey. Darting legend and 1983 champion Keith Deller will speak to us off the back of the action and discuss a little bit about his career on the Oki as well. Plus, we'll look ahead to night 2 in Glasgow, and do us a favour, like and subscribe to the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. Cole, I just want to start off this podcast by saying welcome back to Wayne Mardle's Darts commentary. We've missed you, we love you, as many fans will know, and if you're not a Darts regular, Wayne has been away due to the passing of his wife Donna. So I just want to say welcome back Hawaii 5-0, which has been the hardest period of his life. Yeah. So Wayne, this one goes out to you. You're a legend. You're a trooper. Welcome back. Cole, any words that you would like to say about Mr. Mardle's return?
Listen, no words can explain Wayne's loss. You know, I've known Wayne since we were like 12, 13-year-old boys, and I knew his lovely Donna exactly at the same time. But, you know, I call him Fathead. My old Fathead, he knows that I'm always going to be there for him. We'll always be there for him. And like you say, it was so good. I actually messaged him last night. Great to hear your voice back on the TV, pal, you know. And he come across and sounded great. And I think he put out on social media this morning, I needed that with a love heart emoji. And like you say, it's great to have his dulcet tones back on, giving a little bit of commentary. With all that he's gone through, the fans have missed him. We've all missed him. And it's just great to have him back.
We got the special... Come on! Was it "Come on now"? What is it? Littler had done a 141 or 161. Then MVG just responds in the next leg with a 180. Yeah. It's just those little bits of commentary, isn't it? And we could speak about Wayne's commentary all day. Yeah. But listen, welcome back, Hawaii 5-0. I want to kick off with the world champion. Ridiculous showing in that final against Chris Dobey. I think we can all be honest with that. 6-1. I thought the game was going to be over within 10 minutes of play. Yeah, it was a joke.
It was a ruthless display in the final. But if we could just go back when he played Nathan Aspinall, I mean, against Nathan Aspinall, he beat Nathan 6-2. He had checkouts of 93, 139, 85, 92, and 75. And I think he had about a 62% checkout rate, 63% checkout rate. And with the scoring that we know he can do as well, you've got to be playing so well to beat someone who's in the mood like that as Luke Humphries. And then in the final, I mean, poor old Dobey, he got hit by so many lefts, he was begging for a right.
Yep.
In all fairness, Chris, he didn't look as sharp in the final. He just looked like he got a little bit tired. But Luke, he was just ruthless. Couple of tons shot outs and a 1-2-8 check out. And Dobey tried to make a fight of it when Luke sat on a double. He took out a 1-2-6 check out, but it was a little bit too little too late.
Listen, when you're in those situations though, and you're playing multiple matches a night, I know you're playing in front of like mega crowds, it's a good atmosphere, but when you're playing 3 games in a night, it's mental. It's a mental and physical battle, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough in any walk of life. They do that sort of thing on the Euro tours. They've just done it in the Masters as well. Quarters in the afternoon, semi-finals and final at night. Fortunately, when I played in the Premier League, in the very early days of the Premier League, it was just one match a night. It was run on a league basis, not on a knockout basis. It is very taxing because you're playing the top players in the world, and you have to be sharp for every single game, and that's just extremely tough. But you know what? It was the first night. I think a few players showed some first night nerves. Some didn't, and the most ruthless one of all that didn't show any nerves was Luke Humphries, and that's why he's the class player that he is.
He's almost like a robot, isn't he? Like the way that I know he had his struggle, even though he won the Masters in Milton Keynes last week.
Yeah,
and he had his troubles against Ferret.
Yeah,
but it didn't look like he was hesitating really on the checkouts like he was last week. I can't really like understand it when you look at sort of that second set between Rob Cross and Chris Dobey, where neither of them could hit a barn door when it came to checking out. It got to about 16 between them.
Yeah,
but Luke, when it zooms into that double 10, or he's finishing on tops, or he's finishing on double 16, it doesn't. I always think that he's just going to hit it. There's no issue here whatsoever.
I think it's just it's getting in that flow. When you get in that flow, like I say, it's interesting you say about the Masters. I'm not going to say he kept letting Johnny Clayton in. Johnny Clayton was creating chances for himself, and he started applying the pressure back to Luke. Luke was sort of like, I don't want to say he was running away with it, but he was certainly in control. But Johnny kept applying the pressure back, and it seemed as though he found another gear. Last night, like you say, there was no hesitation. It was just wanted to finish. Way Mardle this. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. Pop, pop, pop. And he was absolutely ruthless with it last night. And that's what you have to do. If you want to get these wins on a Thursday night, you've got to stay focused for 3 matches. That doesn't sound a lot, but 3 matches against the best players in the world, who are also going to be gunning for you. He just showed his professionalism last night, and he just put on a superb display of scoring and finishing, and no more so than when he played MVG.
Listen, 5 points on the table for Luke Humphries. A 3 over a ton checkouts in the final. Secured 6 out of 7 checkouts as well. Beat Aspinall and MVG in the same night. We're going to get into MVG in just a little bit because it was another mental showing from the Green Machine. Cole, it's a marathon and not a sprint, the Premier League, but we've got so many big names in it. We have big names in it every single year, of course. It's the Premier League. Do you actually think we saw the champion last night in Luke Humphries? I know that's a massive prediction, and we've got 16 more nights to go.
Night one, everyone. Night one, everyone, and Harry wants the winner.
Happens every time, isn't it? Arsenal win 7-0 on the opening game of the season. Oh, I think they're going to win the Premier League title in May.
Yeah. Listen, of course you're going to throw Luke in the mix at the end of it. He's that professional. He goes about his business in an unassuming way, but in a clinical way. It's too early to say as yet. You know, there's still another 7 players whose hat is in the middle. And listen, night one's out the way. Some fantastic darts were thrown. But will Luke Humphries be there at the end mix? Yes, I think he will. I'm not going to predict a winner yet, but you know, because all the others have got something to say about that. But if last night's anything to go by, I think we're in for a treat for the next 3 months.
Before we carry on with the other top performances from last night, the opening night quarter-final losers, Gezi, Bunting, Littler, Aspinall. Cole, you played in the inaugural Premier League, kicking off the campaign against Phil the Power Taylor, drawing 6-6.
Oh, yeah.
But listen, let's get real right now. Let's get real.
Yeah.
But losing your opening night quarter-final in 2006 against Taylor again. What was it? 8-2?
Probably
9. Yeah, it was. It was in the most respectful way. I think the following year you got absolutely destroyed.
Listen. In all fairness, at some point or another, everybody has been destroyed by Phil Taylor. It's just that I got to do it quite often.
But how can that opening night loss impact you for the rest of the weeks? Because even though you're playing in a different city every single week, blah, 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 you've prepped, you look at someone like Gerwen Price, who's started 2025 really, really strong. Stephen Bunting, the crowd favourite. Littler, champion of the world at the moment. Aspinall, seems like everyone's just giving him dog's abuse at the moment as well. But how do you lift your head back up ahead of Glasgow next week?
Well, the thing about it is the way I'd have been looking at it, Belfast was last night. It's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. Stay focused. Listen, one bad night doesn't make you a bad player. Some missed opportunities, with Price and Dobey in that first game, our opening match for this Premier League campaign. With those guys, they were both struggling to hold throw. And then it was break, and then Dobey got a 5-4 lead, and he capitalised in the next leg to get over the line. But listen, they know what they've got to do. They don't need to be told what to do. It's just a matter of once you get an opportunity in this format and the players that you're playing, you must take it, because 9 times out of 10 you're not coming back for another go. So basically it's a case of, for me, if I was talking to any of them, I'd be saying, listen, just stay focused. Listen, you had an off night, don't worry about it. Forget about it, basically. Screw it up, chuck it over your shoulder, make sure there's a bin behind your mind. And, you just forever move forward, forever march on. Just stay that tunnel vision and just keep moving on. Yes, it can get despondent. We saw that last year, Harry, with a few of the players. You can get despondent, but those negatives are what your opponents are going to capitalise on. So try not to let the negatives creep in. It's very hard to do that. I mean, me of all people saying that, the frustrations that I had and the way I vented my frustrations. But I'm a different person now, and I'd like to look in and say to them, guys, listen, you've still got 16 more weeks. Yeah. Let's just stay focused, keep in the zone, one step forward, and just keep trying to push forward. Don't take steps back and start analysing things. It's too early. It's only one night been played so far.
Luke Littler, world champion, dispatched in the quarterfinals at the hands of MVG. Yeah. MVG getting his own back on him for the first time. He's had a tough record against Luke Littler, and I asked Michael before all the action if Littler sort of lives rent-free in his head. I don't really think he liked that question for me, but never mind. Love you, Mike. but these are questions that have got to be asked, Colin. These questions have got to be asked. Are we seeing a more relaxed approach from Littler off the back of winning that world title? He wins the biggest prize in world darts. He hasn't won. He didn't win Bahrain, didn't win Dutch Masters, he didn't win Winmore.
World Masters.
Are we just seeing him sort of being a bit sort of like, I'm not really that fussed if I reach a final for the next couple of months? Yeah,
well, if he does that, which I don't think he is, he's too good a player, and I think he's too professional to do that. But if that mindset does creep in, he's going to start getting bit on the backside a lot more often. Because you have to keep sharp. You have to keep sharp, especially for Thursdays. But I say just Thursdays. Thursdays you're up against the cream of the crop, as the PDC have said. They're the cream of the crop. They're who we put in the in the Premier League. But don't forget, in between all that, Harry, you've also got the Pro Tour events, the Euro Tour events, the World Series events. And if you're not on your game, players are going to sense that, and they're going to start nipping at you. When players start nipping at your ankles, them little nips, they become full-on bites. I don't think Luke played badly last night. Michael was on it last night. I mean, when he lost to Luke, I think he averaged about 107, 108 with a losing average. I think Luke's losing average last night against Michael was...
I think it was 113.91.
Yeah, I think it's the third highest losing average of all time.
And
I mean, that speaks volumes.
It's mental.
Yeah.
It's mental.
Listen, it's not mental, it's darts. That's just the way darts is at the minute.
I know, but there was a stat that came out last night, and he'd averaged over a ton in his last 5 losses, Cole.
Yeah.
And I know the averages in the grand scheme of things. Yeah. When you're playing a darts match, you need to be able to finish your dinner. But at the same time, I'm shocked, but it's becoming less of a shock now. Do you know what I mean? Like Luke Humphries can do a 99 average and still dominate and not put up, say, higher numbers. He even says that 180s isn't like his speciality compared to Littler. Yeah. But this time after time, the ton averages, it's almost like superhuman.
Well, the thing about it is, Harry, a lot of the time you get big averages because people say about being 180 hitters. The reason you have a high average is because you score heavy. If you're not getting shots at a double because someone's scoring quite heavy behind you, but they're hitting the nice little round thing on the outside of the board, which is obviously your doubles, your average will still stay high. Luke Littler at this moment in time is not only scoring heavy, he's finishing. But unfortunately he walked into someone in MVG last night who was also on his game. And this time around, MVG got the win. Listen, the next time it comes around, the next time they play, Luke Littler might smash him off the park. But I think Luke Littler is that sort of guy. It won't faze him. It won't bother him. I think when you interview him, you guys have spoken to him. And he is someone. He's quite relaxed and laid back anyway. He's openly admitted that he doesn't probably practice as much as what he should do. But listen, at the end of the day, Luke Littler's got to do what's beneficial for Luke Littler. And who am I to tell him to do anything any different? He's won umpteen tournaments in his first year on the tour, and he's been crowned the world champion. So he's doing something right. It's just that, I'm going to say, just a little bit of a misfire, but he'll put it right.
Cole, should we get our guest on who's waiting in the wings?
No, let's leave him.
Patiently. Should we just leave him? Yeah. Do you know what? He's been waiting for such a long time now. I'd like to welcome to the show 1983 world champion, Mr. 138, Mr. MBE as well, Keith Deller. Keith Deller, welcome to talkBULL. Where are we joining you? There's lovely curtains there, Keith. Where are you?
I'm at home, I'm afraid. They're not my choice.
Listen, night one, big night, some massive performances. I want to start off with Luke Humphries. Just an absolute animal in the hockey, weren't he?
Yeah, I think he was solid all night. That's the important thing. You can play brilliant and lose, but if you're solid in every match, you're going to be hard to beat. I think where Luke was really good, Luke Humphries, was the big finishes. Over around 100, I mean, 3 in the final. And maybe, as he said, he was quite fortunate against MVG, but Michael had 6 starts to go 2 legs ahead. That cost him. Then Michael's game dropped off. But Luke Humphries is number 1 for a reason. They take their chances if you give them to them. And I think that was the problem with some of the others on the night, that Luke Humphries said, give me a shot at that double 10. I mean, it was fantastic, hitting 100 a few times. So, yeah, at the end of the day, he deserved to win because he took his chances where possibly Michael Van Gogh didn't.
Listen, Keith's exactly right. The thing about Luke Humphries, he was absolutely ruthless. And like Keith said, every time he got a chance, Michael had a dart at the bull to actually win the match. The amount of times he had a dart at the bull, during the evening, he wasn't really anywhere near it. But like Keith has just now said, he is the world number one, and he stands there and portrays himself as a clinical, ruthless, fabulous dart playing world number one, because as and when he does get opportunities, he does take them. So if you do get an opportunity against him as a player, you have to take it, because if you don't, you'll get punished.
I mean, we're speaking to the guy that knows all about finishing with that 138 as well, Mr. Keith Deller. I was watching a darts documentary the other day, you'll be pleased to know, and they were giving you so much love. And yeah, it was just a phenomenal moment.
It didn't last long. It didn't last long, I tell you.
We're bringing it back, Keith. We're bringing it back. MVG, Keith, from what you saw last night, he was an absolute animal. It seemed like the MVG of old. But like we saw at the Masters last week, is MVG just overthinking it when it comes to those final legs and checking out to get to those, the next stages and win matches?
I think he just wants to get back to winning, even if it's a nightly event at the Premier League. It's being the champion, holding a little trophy, which I don't get every week. The only one that matters is the one in the finals night. But end of the day, I think he's on the right path. I mean, the way he played that game against Luke Littler, you might not see a better game all year on TV. It was just unbelievable. Obviously, a little bit of friendly needle, shall we say, after late arrival of Mr. Littler. But in his interview, I thought he was clever. He just said, yeah, I was late, with a smile. But you've got to hit 100 averages easy, because Littler hits them every time. I mean, he's going to be in a great place. He'll just be thinking, I'm not going to keep losing with 114 average. That was just one of them games that was unbelievable. Was it 12, 13, 180s? They were just in the groove together. I mean, Colin's had it plenty of times where you both just feed off each other, but it can also go the other way when you're not playing as well, like the Chris Dobey semi-final early doors. But, at the end of the day, I think he'll say, well, I should have won it. I'll most probably go and win next week. But them chances you've got to take. You've got to get points on the board. This is all about reaching the O2. Winning is okay, but you've got to be consistently winning or getting points week in, so that, not like last year with Peter Wright, you're so far behind that you can't really do anything anymore. But MVG, should he have won last night? Well, yeah, he should have won last night, because he should have beat Luke Humphries, but he didn't. So he's got to take his chances when he gets them. I mean, the 6 darts, they weren't great darts at the double. They were more like, please go in. I think I've got this now. Maybe he was thinking, if I win this, I'll beat Chris Dobey in the final. But at the end of the day, he had his chance, didn't take it, and he's not far away. His scoring was fantastic. He just lost his way a little bit when he had them 6 darts at a double.
Well, I'll ask this to both of you then, because even with me being an amateur darts player and you two playing at the highest level, he was just thrashing at it. No one wants to finish on a madhouse. Let's get that frank. But Michael, it was in such quick succession, and he's won everything, and it's sort of the thing that you would tell a up and coming player: reset and take your time. Why didn't Michael do that? Was he that confident that he was just going to finish it?
I think that's just the way Michael plays. Michael's always done that. If he splits 16s, fires straight at the 8s. Splits the 8s, fires straight at the double 4. And that's just the way he throws. In some ways now, I think where Michael probably is getting a little bit older now, his brain tells his arm to do something, and it's just not firing there quick enough. Because if you saw when Michael split the 10s, he was like a good half an inch below the 5, and he always goes 3-1-1. So then he's gone for the 3, hit the big 3, and he put it's as if he's coming up, his arm's coming back, and he's already thrown at the 1-1, and that was sort of like half an inch to an inch below as well. So in some ways, I think you're probably right, Harry. In Michael's not that fluent sort of player at this moment in time. He's not firing on all cylinders, and perhaps he does need to not step back, but just take that split second longer to throw the dart. I mean, I don't know how Keith feels about that, but that's the way I feel about it.
I just feel that really it's confidence. if he'd have won the Masters last weekend, he'd have hit them doubles last night. He's just not winning he's not winning a little trophy. Doesn't matter. It's not that important, the small trophy. But to Michael, it would have been. It would mean that on that night, he's standing there, having the interview, holding a little trophy. I'm the champion tonight. And it's all about winning. He's not winning. He's losing. And winning becomes a habit, and so does losing. And I just felt that he wanted it too much. I mean, it was a bad draw as such, but it equals out over the week. So he's not going to be playing number 1 and number 2, in the first 2 games. But at the end of the day, most of the times, he might have to beat them to win. And that's where we're going to find out if Michael is confident enough to do that. I think he is. But next week, he could be playing one of those again in the final or semi-final. If he loses again next week, the pressure then goes to the next week. So it does build up. But I think it would have been so good for Michael who just got that first win last night and said, right, I might have lost in the world final, but watch out, guys, I'm after you this year. But it's number 1 in the world who's got the bragging rights at the moment.
Keith, you mentioned the needle between Littler and MVG, and before all of the action the day before and the press day on Wednesday, myself and producer Susan were in Belfast, interviewed all of the players. Dave Allen came in and said, one of the players just running a little bit late. And I didn't question it. I mean, people can run late. A lot of players are coming over from England. There might have been a flight delayed. There could be anything, You're waiting at the drive-thru at McDonald's and they're taking their time or something like that. Didn't question who it was. We were stuck in this little room, so we didn't go to the press conference because we had all the players coming in. And then as soon as the interviews were done, and find out that it was one Mr. Luke Littler, who was 40 minutes late. Michael Van Gerwen was questioned on it, and he said, in typical MVG fashion, he's not a baby anymore, blah, 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 like the Bond villain that MVG can be. I love the man to bits, but was holding no prisoners. Listen, he was criticised for showing up late to the press day. I frankly couldn't give a monkeys about it. I think a lot of it's been blown out of proportion. Do you both think it might have been mind games over from Mr. Littler being world champion, being like, oh no, listen, you start when I arrive?
No, I think he just didn't get out of bed early enough. That was the problem. Let's get real. Even he says he's a lazy so-and-so. So I've got to be honest. Do you know what? Eric Bristow, the late Eric Bristow, Colin, I tell you, when we do a show, you can't be a minute late. If you're going to say, right, we're meeting to hotel to go to the venue, if you're 3 minutes late, well, where are you? That Eric was very much like that. And you think, all right, Eric, sorry. But I just feel that, there's no excuse. I mean, they should be there on time. If they got caught if it was an accident or something, well, fair enough. But it looked like he just didn't get out of bed quick enough. And Michael thought, if I could just use this a little bit, but I don't think it really made any difference because Luke had nearly 114 average. So, but at the end of the day, there's going to be mind games. I don't like all this, I love him to bits, he's my best mate. When I managed Adrian Lewis, he said, he's my best mate. I went, so if you had nowhere to live, would they put all your family up tomorrow? Most probably not. I said, don't get all this best mate rubbish. Phil Taylor got it. You're taking food off the table, and that's the mentality. But I don't like all this hugging. I mean, Jesus God. Sometimes they hug each other about 6 times. For God's sake, what's going on?
Well, you mentioned the hugging, but people seem to have an issue with all the fist bumps as well.
Yeah.
And I know back in your day, Keith, that probably wasn't the case of the fist bumps, but it's more sort of like your era where it probably came in, Cole, and it's just a bit of respect. The greatest leg of all time, MVG versus Michael Smith. When Michael Smith was getting ready and MVG was probably going to take out the 9 darter, there was a little fist bump. If you get a big fish, there's a fist bump. Do you have issues with that, Keith, or not? Or would you just rather, the players just be locked in and show no mercy?
Yeah, I don't like any of this. Putting your hands up if you win a leg when you shouldn't. Well, don't win the leg then. I mean, no, it's all too much. Old pals here. Oh, my mate. Oh, I think the world of him. Yeah, go on then. Lose a world final and have to hit a double then to ask the question. I'm sorry, but we didn't do any of that. I mean, Eric used to say, I'll only shake your hand if you fall down the steps, not coming up. And that was... Colin will tell you that is true, but at the end of the day, it's what it's like. I mean, they see each other week in, week out. But no, I don't like any of this hugging, fist pumps, or put my hands up. If they missed a good double, clap. Unlucky, mate. I mean, I remember Eric played John Lowe in the British Open final on TV, and Lowe wanted 20 and Eric wanted 32 to win the British Open. And Lowe went up and missed. Eric turned around and went, I've just won. And went bang, double 16. That's what you got to do. You know, stop all this, my mate. No, get rid of all that. We want aggro. That's what we want.
Well, Colin Lloyd is smiling very much there. I remember the old video of him and John Park cuddling each other off the back of Colin Lloyd beating him, head going into his chest. Carl, what's your response to Mr. Deller there? Are you for the fist bumps, or do you think the game's gotten a bit too, I don't like to say it, soft?
Yeah, it has got a little bit soft. Yeah, listen, like Keith's right in what he says. You know, if you hold your hands up and apologise for winning a leg, why are you up there for? That's just like scoring a goal in a cup final and saying sorry to everything, shaking every player's hand of your opponents and saying sorry. I'd have never done that. I mean, my emotions come out from the match play win with John, quite simply because I'd won a major the year previous. And then you get all the doubters, they say, oh, it's lucky because you won one, lucky because you won one. All the emotions of that whole week of playing the match play, me taking out the big fish to actually win it, I just didn't know what to do. I just turned around and there was big old John. And so I just gave him a big old hug. And then if you see it, I'm sort of... And it was a case of, thank God that's over.
Well, actually, Colin beat me in the quarter-finals of the World Match Play. I took Alan Warner out, number one in the world. Colin must have thought, that's done me a favour. Anyway, I knew I was most probably going to get me backside kicked. Anyway, I lost 16-4, and I shook his hand and I said, I can't believe you beat me.
Yeah,
but the thing is as well. Like Bristow was never going to fist bump you,
Sure.
or he would have shook your hand after the 138. But you look back to the old videos, and it's like Bristow can't wait to get off. He can't get off the stage quick enough. Do you know what I mean?
Well, when I beat Eric in the final and he shook my hand, he just went, "Well done, enjoy. You only have the trophy for 1 year." That's all he said to me. Honestly, that is all he said to me, and I thought, "Yeah, fair enough." So, and he won the next 3 years, so he didn't tell lies.
Listen, Keith, I mentioned the documentary, the latest Sky one is the Dark Kings, and you feature heavily in it. And it just made me think, and I want to know your take on this. It's like, it was always referred to one of the biggest upsets in darting history, maybe even like sporting history. That's how far I'll go with it, because I think it was mental. Do you sort of feel like people, give you the respect that you deserve, because it was a monumental moment?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think it went in actually as the sixth biggest upset in British sport at the time. So it was big. And I mean that there was something on YouTube the other day when the 6 o'clock news, and I had a 10-minute straight after 6 o'clock news follow me around Scotland. I mean, at that time, you couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't go in a pub for a nice country pub for a meal unless it was a dartboard. You couldn't go in. It was manic. But no, I think the people say to me, "Well, you only won that once." Well, the British Professional was 7 days on TV all week, and really at that time, Colin will tell you that the best players in the world were British. They weren't the foreign. You wanted a foreign player when you played the World Championships. So the better players were the British. So that was the one. There was 3 big tournaments for us: the World Championships, the British Professional, and the World Masters. I won the Worlds, I won the British, and lost in the final of the Masters to Eric, who had 101 average. So really, I was unlucky not to get the Triple Crown, because Eric was the only one out of all of us that actually did it. So, but maybe I don't get the respect. I mean, nowadays, maybe it was 42 years ago, but at the end of the day, it's there in history. What Colin's done has been one of the best players in the PDC of all time. We've done our bit. We've won big trophies, TV events, and if people don't respect it, then I think a lot of it is just jealousy. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of very, very good players that have never won a major tournament. So, no, I just think that I get the respect in the right way. As I said, Colin will tell you I do a load of work, a lot of corporate events still, and people still respect that for me.
Listen, next week, just quick preview for night 2, Rob Cross versus Littler. MVG versus Stephen Bunting, Nathan Aspinall versus Gezi Price, Luke Humphries against Chris Dobey, the final, which was last night. Keith, Humphries faces Dobey again. Can you see Dobey, getting his revenge, or has he already got a number on him?
No, is my honest opinion. I feel that Luke Humphries has got 5 points in the bag, and that's what he's happy. He knows that even if he got to the final next week, it's still, 8 points after 2 weeks. I mean, as I said, you've got to meet him. I mean, look, he's got 3 points, Chris. He's happy. He's lost in the final. The ones that are on 0, I think Luke Littler, you can't not. He's playing brilliant. So, is he going to win it? Possibly. I still think it'll be between them two, MVG. But the others now, they've got to get points. I was disappointed with the one I thought looked very nervous last night. I don't know about you, Colin, with Stephen Bunting. I don't think he was as jovial on his walk-on stage. To me, he looked nervous. They said he had a bad record against Rob Cross. I mean, 137, yes, was a great finish, but he had his darts in his pocket. He was ready to shake hands. He was getting his darts.
I think it's seven games on the trot he's lost to Rob Cross.
Yeah, I think people say it don't matter. You do. It does matter. You know if you've got a bogey player. And it's a problem because the next time they play, if it's 8, it's 9, you start trying harder. But at the end of the day, I think Stephen Bunting needs to have a good game next week because they're building him up a lot. I mean, I predict him to make the final of the whole lot. So I might have to change my opinion.
We got 16 weeks. You ain't got egg on your face just yet, though, mate.
No, but they can soon go.
Quickly then, Humphries, again, if I'm looking at this off the back of last night, is Humphries going to take night 2 if you had to predict the potential pathway bypasses Dobey? And, was on fire last night. Can you just see it all happening again for him or not?
Littler for me. I think Luke, 114 average, just on 114 average. He's not doing much wrong. I just feel that I think after getting the press out the way, he'll want to get back to winning. And you can't forget, he is still the world champion. So
yeah,
I'm going to take Littler to win. And I think it's just the others that have got to I don't know what Colin thinks. Gerwen Price. Gerwen's playing well, but he's doing what he did last year. When it comes to the real crux, he's hit the bad score at the wrong time. 59 last night, Colin, didn't he? 58, where he just hasn't got that strong mind at the moment. He says he has. I don't think he has, not at the moment. Just to get that extra 140 in at the right time. Just a little bit of confidence is lacking to me in 2 or 3 of them.
Cole, I just want to speak to you about Michael van Gerwen, playing some of the best darts of his life going into 2025 at the moment. Riding high against Luke Humphries in the semi-final too. It just went into madness, mate. I know we spoke to Keith about it just a couple of minutes ago. Changing up in the leg, doesn't reset properly, then has to finish on a madhouse to go 5-4 up. It's not MVG versus Humphries at that point for me. It's Michael van Gerwen against Michael van Gerwen. Yeah. He is overthinking. We saw the same against Dimitri van den Berg in the World Series, World Masters. Sorry, that 180 from Michael in leg 8 as well. I don't know about you, but I mean, if it was me and you on a little practice board, and you've got one dart in that 60 hanging on by a thread in that bed, you would probably headbutt me for trying to go for it, and it's just me and you playing. I choked on my chicken nugget, for goodness sake. I choked on it because I was like, how's Michael gone for that? Literally, he could have lost it, and then all of a sudden he's down to a 120. Cole, please just break down what is going through Michael van Gerwen's head at the moment.
The thing with Michael van Gerwen, he's always seeking perfection. He expects things of himself that other people can only dream of. And that expectancy over the years has become reality. That's how good he's been. He's been such a class player, not only for himself, but for darts as a whole. He has been the brand. He has been the selling point of the game. He's just misfiring at the minute. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, I mean, there was a bit last night. They were 4 legs all, MVG and Humphries, that is. And Michael just missed crucial darts at a double. He could have got a 5-4 lead. Luke Humphries then would have had to make it 5-all. Michael got another leg after that, so we'd have been talking today of a Chris Dobey, Michael van Gerwen final. But we're not. Because Michael's just doing some strange things at the moment that you don't expect from him. I don't know whether... I'm not going to say Father Time has caught up with him. I mean, he's been one of the best players in the world now for the last 14, 15 years. But other people now and other players have caught up with him. They've bridged that gap. Michael developed a gap between himself and the players, and he not only did he have the expectancy to win for himself, but we all expected him to win. As dart fans, who's going to be runner-up? Because MVG's just on fire at the moment. That's not happening at the moment. That's not to say that it couldn't happen again, because Michael's still got major wins in him. Very much so. But I just think at this moment in time, it's hard to look past the 2 Lukes at the moment. And I think deep down Michael does let it get to him a little bit, that he's not spoken about as often anymore. It's just all about, well, it's going to be Luke Littler win or it's going to be a Luke Humphries win. And I sometimes think he's just trying too hard to say, excuse me, I'm still here. I'm still here, and when I'm on my game, I can still produce the goods. Listen, time will tell. Like we keep saying, it's only night 1 so far. Michael had a nice little break. He didn't go to Bahrain. He had a nice little holiday. But again, looking at the Wimbledon World Masters at the weekend, Michael was looking great. And then all of a sudden, some little inconsistencies crept in.
Well, it's almost like Dimitri hitting that 9 darter was...
Yeah.
And I asked Michael about that, and he said, "Nah, that wasn't what fazed me at all. No. I was just below par." But
if you looked before that, Michael missed some crucial shots, and I'm not taking anything away from Dimmy because he just went up there and got the job done. But Michael missed some crucial shots, whereas he used to just shrug it off. I feel as though he doesn't shrug it off anymore, because again, that's that longevity. When you're a lot younger, you're a lot fresher. Because when Michael did start really banging it, from when he won his first big one in the PDC in 2012, after that, Michael was always either winning runner-up, semi-finals for the next decade.
Yeah.
Well, that takes its toll. You know, you're constantly on the road, you're constantly throwing darts, and when you're riding the crest of a wave, you can just, don't matter about that. As you're getting older, it starts playing little tricks on your mind. And I think that's just what's
almost
going on.
Sort of like convincing myself obviously his peak might have already gone, but you probably start going into your own head being like, can I actually compete with these guys? And it must be like a hard pill to swallow in a way.
Why are you asking me?
I wasn't indirecting that to you.
No, listen, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. When you've had it your own way for so long and you've been a consistent performer, a consistent winner, all of a sudden, when you're losing that bit of consistency and you're not winning constantly when people expect you to win, that starts weighing heavy on your mind and on your shoulders. And all of a sudden you start analysing yourself and you start thinking to yourself, should I change something? Should I try something different? No, that's just the way it is, I'm afraid. No one dominates forever.
So before we finish up, I've just got some additional questions for you. Keith Deller mentioned earlier on in the show, Rob Cross, Stephen Bunting. Stephen Bunting's having a torrid time against Rob Cross. Winless in his last 7.
Yeah.
And definitely a bogey player. You would have had bogey players.
No. No. Never had a bogey player.
Yeah. No, never.
You can't.
Take Taylor out. Take Taylor out of the mix. But was there some player that just had your number? Like ability-wise, you might have been better than them. But as soon as you stepped onto the hockey, they just had your number for some weird reason.
I don't think anyone dominated me. I know the only one that dominated. I don't want to say dominated because away from the TV, I got my fair share of wins against Phil Taylor. But he had a dominance over everyone. So I don't think anyone had anything over me. I had my little run-ins with people on the dartboard, that is. You know, battles where I might lose a few games to them, but then I might win a few games, they win a few games, like that. But if as a professional player, Stephen Bunting wants to put Rob Cross on a pedestal, only he can take that out of his own head. You know, he didn't look comfortable last night. He didn't put in, for me, the performances we've been seeing for the last six months to a year. But listen, like I said, it was the first night. It's the first time he's been back in the Premier League in 10 years. Bad night at the office. Right, let's move on to week 2. And, you know, we could see a completely different Stephen Bunting next week. And I think we will see a completely different Stephen Bunting next week because he's been playing so well. It would never surprise me if he took the win next week because he has been that good a player in the last 6 months to 18 months.
Lloydie, thank you very much. We do it all again next week. To all of the viewers, to all of the listeners on YouTube, do us a massive favour because as of next week, the second episode, I want you to get your questions in for Mr. Colin Lloyd, all right? A question you've always wanted to ask a darts player. A question you've always wanted to ask Jaws. The best ones, I'm going to say, we'll do a top 5. The best ones, we'll pick out, we'll give you a shout out. Lloydie will answer them. And all I've got to say to you listeners right now, thank you for watching. You are absolute legends. Please make sure you like and subscribe just down below. Check out the rest of the channel. We've got some wonderful content there. I forgot to mention as well, me versus Colin Lloyd on the hockey. Give that a watch. See what happens. I think you can probably predict who the winner was. Me. Yeah, surprising that, isn't it? No, he absolutely dismantled me because that's what Jaws does. And I went straight into the Shark Tank. Listen, plus, all of our Premier League games will be streamed live on our YouTube channel every single Thursday. Chris Mason, Paul Nicholson, Ian Danter, Mark Wilson. The team is phenomenal. Like and subscribe. Go check it out. Cheerio.